You love the Bible.
Yeah, I do.
Why? Like, if you like go, well, that's not real, he's not a guy.
Yeah.
Why do you love it so much?
Because it's like the most amazing collection of ancient literature. It's like reading, it's like going into a time capsule. It's like time travelling, and you get to read all about these different sorts of myths and legends. Like, one of the most important myths in the Old Testament, Hebrew Bible, is the idea that God had to fight a massive sea dragon to create the world. Now, you don't get that in Genesis. You get hints of it in Genesis, but you do get it.
Hang on, what are the hints?
The hints?
What? No, like, I'm just curious. Like, it's like, ixnay on the agandray. Like, what was it? Like, what's...
So one of the hints is, on the such and such a day when God was making the world, he made the great sea monsters. And the word that they don't actually do that in the Bible, but the word that they use is the ancient word for this. It's Tanin, which is this ancient, mythical, watery, ferocious chaos monster, like a sea dragon. But then we read all about his actual battle with the sea dragon in the book of Isaiah and in the book of Job and in the Psalms. So it's all there. It's just that everyone kind of privileges the beginning of the book because most people get bored by the time they get to, like, Leviticus, and they don't bother reading.
There's just so much admin in Leviticus.
I know,
it's like, this is what you do with mildew. Put it in a drawer, see if it grows. Call the rabbi, burn your house down. Like,
But detail's important in that kind of thing, particularly.
Well, mildew it still plagues us today. So I've been to Jerusalem, the old city of Jerusalem, and it's amazing when the places mentioned in the Bible are in front of you. Like, I stood in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the fact that these are real places starts to make you feel like this is more true. Why does it become more compelling? Because it's in a place that exists.
Whether you're, an atheist like me or you're religious like other people, the Bible has played such a massive role in our lives, right from when we're kids, that somehow to be in these places, I think you can't but help just feel engaged and excited and curious. And to go somewhere like Jerusalem, where obviously the Bible still matters, because as we know, Jerusalem is still the kind of the heart, the kind of the central place for Judaism, Christianity, and obviously Islam as well. And we know the political tensions, we see it on the news all the time. You can't but help feel impacted by that.
Now, you've already pointed out a few things that weren't real in the Bible.
Yeah.
What was real? Like, I believe the Garden of Eden, you believe, was a real place.
Well, I believe it's based on a real place. It's based on the Jerusalem temple that was supposedly built by Solomon and was destroyed, and we think probably historically it was destroyed by the Babylonians in the 6th century BCE. And the temple itself is meant to be like the dwelling place of the god. And like humans, God wants a nice house and he wants a nice garden. And it's the meeting place between the heavenly realm and the earthly realm. And so it was filled with trees, and it was a very sensory experience going into the temple. There were nice smells of incense, and that's what the story of Eden is based on. The idea is that human beings, or a king in this case, was in a very privileged position like that with God. He messes up, he gets expelled from the garden, so he's like thrown out of the temple, and that's when the temple historically is destroyed and the kings of Israel no longer exist.
So if you were editing the Bible, what would you take out? Is there anything that you'd remove?
New Testament? No.
That's pretty controversial. Surely not all of the New Testament.
Okay, Paul. Anything written by St. Paul.
Just all of Paul?
Yes.
That's like taking Paul out of the Beatles. He was pretty important. No, because Paul wrote a huge amount of the New Testament.
Yeah.
He was, by and large, the founder of the church.
He is the founder of Christianity.
So what have you got against Paul?
He goes on and on and on.
It is a bit like he took everything he wrote. Like, I wrote some letters to the Corinthians. I'll put that in.
Yeah.
Did the Corinthians ever write back?
We don't know if they did. Maybe. But he's so down on humanity. He's just really kind of like, oh, you humans, you're so bad, you're so sinful. And it's like, oh, come on. We're not that bad. The Hebrew Bible, everyone thinks that the God of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, is the kind of like vengeful, hateful, angry one who's like kicking ass all the time. And that the God of the New Testament is kind of like, oh, I love you. But it's not like that at all. The God of the New Testament, he's gone. He's like not interested at all in humanity. Like, he's not really present in the New Testament. It's all about Jesus.
Because that's the thing. Like, early on in the Bible, God rocks up. Like, God is literally there, and he goes, "Hey, Abraham, do this. Moses, here's some 10 Commandments.
Exactly.
They'll be useful."
Yeah.
And I mean, he's talking directly to people.
Yeah.
And then it becomes people saying, "Oh, you just missed him. God was here, and he said this." And then by the end of it, it's like, I know a guy who spoke to a dude who saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you know, Paul started off as a Jew, like Jesus. Jesus was a Jew. I think he'd be spinning in his grave if he knew what was really going on in his name now. He was a Jew. He was a very passionate Jewish man. You know, like John the Baptist was probably sort of Jesus' initial teacher, and like Jesus kind of then used this breakaway movement. You know, it's kind of like, you know, some pop group like the Beatles, like kind of splitting up, and like John going off with Yoko. It's problematic.